This is Kimberly Quinn, host of the Mindcraft podcast, and I can't tell you how much fun I have had doing this podcast. I started when the world closed over the pandemic in an attempt to spread some positivity out there and give people some strategies to enhance their own well being and reduce anxiety and all of that. Now, 2 years later, we're still going strong and now listened to by 52 countries across the world. And I've even helped some of my students get going with their own podcasts. It's super easy to do. And I'll tell you, if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. I'll just explain for you. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It is a ball. Start today. Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another hopefully interesting discussion, another Minecraft discussion on becoming the boss of your brain, right? That is the whole foundation for Minecraft. Thoughts first, feelings second, actions or behaviors third. And once we get this, we are well on our way to living our very best life. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and today's topic is it's wow, because we can actually practice virtues and get better at them. Like, who knew? One of my favorite dead guys, Aristotle, I'm a big Aristotle fan, and this is enormously paraphrased, but I mean, he said way back when, if we practiced honesty or patience or kindness or whatever, just like we practice playing the violin or soccer, lo and behold, we get better at it. And I have to tell you, I'm going to get into patience in a second, which anybody who knows me is probably going to chuckle, but I do practice honesty. I practiced honesty, I like to say every day, but that's 100% of the time. And who does 100% anything? The high majority of the time, I'm actually conscious of practicing honesty. And like I said, when we practice anything, whether it's the violin, speaking Italian, even robbing banks, we will get better at it. And like anything else, it actually gets easier. It gets easier to be honest if we're practicing it. And sometimes people think like, oh, she won the honesty lottery or something. No. Or if it's the patience one, which is a whole lot more work for me, to be honest with you. Just to be honest with you. No pun intended there. um, we can actually get better at these things. Also true with kindness. And today, my inspiration is Richard Carlson, and he, as you may know, wrote a long time ago the "Don't Sweat the Small Stuff" books. I've had these on my shelf for years. They're little books with just like a page or two, and also something I read in my 30s, along with some of the other books I share from. I like it because they're little snippets, and definitely in the Fast Mind Club, I like it better than. And I do read books cover to cover. It just takes me a while, but I like that you can read a page and a half and have closure. I like that. So, obviously, whenever we're talking about human behavior or non-human animal behavior, right? We can't remove genetics. So, are some people more predisposed to being honest, loyal, happy, kind? There can be a predisposition for sure, though. And obviously, some of these aren't like labeled as virtues, though they all are, right? Empathy. We can practice empathy. We can practice all of these things. So patience is another one. And Richard Carlson talks about actually creating times in the day, practice periods, patience practice periods, where we can learn baby steps to get better at it. It's genius, really. So I'm thinking of the Pomodoro timer, named after the tomato because that's how it's shaped. And a lot of my students have talked about this. You just flip it over and give yourself 20-minute break or whatever. Well, that would be a great tool to use to practice being more patient. Honesty kind of brings its quizzes all day long, right? It would also work for kindness, to just flip it over and I'm going to go do whatever nice thing for somebody. And I just think it's a really good way to do it, or to just old school, just say from Before lunch, I'm going to practice being patient. Or during dinner, maybe during dinners with an extended family, it's a lot of people, blah, blah. I'm going to practice patience during this meal or whatever. And this gives us little baby steps, and we can reevaluate and say, wow, I did a good job with that. Just remember, we're looking for progress, not perfection. Perfection is a horrible word to use or even have in your vocabulary. And I think it was Anne Schaaf who said it's self abuse of the highest order. So we want progress, not perfection. And when it comes to patience, that this one is definitely, let's say, the good Lord threw a lot of gifts into my gift bag. Patience was not one of them. So it's one that I'm constantly a work in progress with. Probably also because frustration is my most challenging emotion to manage. Outside of shame, we don't count that because it's just so huge and intense. But regular emotions, frustration is hard for me, and so patience, I'm a constant work in progress with. And so, Richard says patience is a quality of heart that can be greatly enhanced with deliberate practice. And also, thank you, Aristotle. Right? And an effective way that I have found to deepen my own patience is to create actual practice periods of time that I set up in my mind to practice the art of patience. Life itself becomes a classroom, and the curriculum is patience. I love that. That's also very Oprah because Oprah talks about life, the curriculum of life constantly, and how just like with regular school, there are quizzes and tests and put on the spot to answer a question and all that sort of thing. And obviously, life does that too, constantly getting quizzes. And if we don't pass it the first time, it comes back at us again. It's usually a little tougher. Questions are rearranged, metaphorically speaking, and the quiz doesn't go away until we master it. It's just how it goes. Okay, and so remember, if you are very patient, you can fill in something else because we've all got something to work on. Honesty is a big one for people. Kindness, loyalty. That's my number one on the list for people in my life for sure. If they want to be in my life, they've got to be loyal. I just don't have any tolerance for anybody who's not loyal. So anyway, Richard goes on and says you can start with as little as 5 minutes and build up your capacity for patience over time. Start by saying to yourself, okay, for the next 5 minutes, I won't allow myself to be bothered by anything. I'll be patient. What you'll discover is truly amazing. Your intention your intention to be patient, especially if you know it's only for a short while, immediately strengthens your capacity for patience. Okay, here we have a couple of things going on. I just did a video this morning on the power of intention, a little bit yesterday, kind of the rolling together. When we set an intention in the morning, it is huge. Because it is how your day unfolds. It's kind of like just this. We're walking energy, right? Spiritual beings having a human experience, and when we set that intention verbally, or write it down in your gratitude journal too if you want to, it sets the tone. The day is way more apt to unfold patiently or kindly or honestly or whatever when we intend to be patient on that day, or honest or kind. So that's one of the things. And also the part about doing it for a short while. It's the baby steps thing. People like that. Then we have closure and it's a success and we feel good about ourselves. And then he goes on and says, patience is one of those special qualities where success feeds on itself. Once you reach little milestones, 5 minutes of successful patience, you'll begin to see that you do indeed have the capacity to be patient, even for longer periods of time. Over time, you may even become a patient person. And here, I actually did a whole episode on this at another time, but we can just reinterject that this is also a good space to remind ourselves that life itself is not an emergency. It's not an emergency. Think about when, God forbid, we get that phone call where it's life changing. No, most of the time, thankfully, life is not an emergency. In fact, life is not usually even an urgency. We make it urgent with all the drama and the hype and the raised voices and the hustle, hustle, gotta go, gotta go. For what? Where's the fire? Think about it. Unless you're an ambulance driver, you're not in that big of a hurry. It's just the truth. And so it just kind of reminds us of this. And when we think of that, then we can, it helps us to be patient. It's not an emergency. It's not even an urgency. If I take 60 seconds longer to wake up in the morning, I'll have a better day and nobody will be any worse for the wear, as they say. So then Richard reminds us, he says, being patient allows me to keep my perspective. I can remember, even in the midst of a difficult situation, that what's before me, my present challenge, isn't life or death, but simply a minor obstacle that must be dealt with. Right, that's what we just said. Life is not an urgency or an emergency. Without patience, the same scenario can become a major emergency, complete with yelling, frustration, hurt feelings, and high blood pressure. I forgot to lift out the high blood pressure part. Also not healthy. It's really not worth all that. Of course it's not worth all that. We forget that it's not worth all that. It's so stupid. So whether you're needing to deal with children, your boss, or a difficult person or situation, if you don't want to sweat the small stuff, improving your patience level is a great way to start. And we can improve by practice. Again, fill in the blank with kindness, honesty, or whatever. Fill in the blank and improve your patience, honesty, kindness, loyalty, anything you want. You can also use the Pomodoro timer, or just build little windows of practice into your head in the day, and remember to give yourself lots and lots of positive feedback for each little milestone you hit. That's it. Improving your patience is a great way to start. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful northern Vermont. Have a mindful and patient day.